And now to share some thoughts, a close neighbor and friend, Angela Zaidman, would like to share her memories of Don.
Good morning. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Angela, and my family lives across the street from Don and Carol. On behalf of my husband, Brian, we'd like to share some memories with you of Don, who was much more than a neighbor to us. We moved to Tupelo in December 2001. Don was the first person to welcome us to the neighborhood with a bottle of wine in hand. He was hesitant to leave it once he realized that I was pregnant, but we had conversation, and from that moment we connected. And his role in our life was created. As we were renovating and getting ready to move in, he quickly assured us that there was no reason to put an alarm in. We were in a safe area. Of course it was safe, because little did we know, he was watching. He knew the cars that belonged. If the cars were parked too long, he'd inquire why. There were many occasions when I turned a corner and he was there. Or I'd be getting out of my car and I'd catch some sense of movement or a glimpse. When we'd go out of town, he made sure our friends who were watering or collecting our mail knew he was there too. We'd laugh about how he'd just show up. There'd be no verbal warning. He was just there. After we moved in, Don and Brian quickly bonded. In a short time, he became more than the neighbor across the street. 2002 was a hard year for our family, but God knew that Brian needed Don. Don became the dad that Brian yearned for. Ironically, the age difference was the perfect fit. They both needed each other in ways that was never verbalized, but definitely shown. Don was our go-to guy. If we needed a tool, we'd walk across the street. If Brian wasn't sure how to do something or how to fix something, he'd go get Don. If I saw that Brian was struggling, and in my perspective, I thought he needed help, I'd go get Don. He became the mentor. He was smart and knowledgeable and willing to teach Brian with patience. Selfishly, I liked it because I knew if Don was helping, it would get done faster and maybe a little bit better. He was precise. He thought things out. He was logical and could explain clearly. He'd show us something that he did at their house, and then he'd help us do it at ours. But it wasn't one-sided. Over time, when he needed an extra hand with a project, he'd come get Brian. They built the patio in the backyard. Brian reminded me this past week that they would go on errands together, and while driving, they would talk about his days in the service. Don was a patriot. He was proud that his garage was the voting location for several years. He'd fly his flag high, and he loved that he was making a difference and being part of the process. It wasn't uncommon to find them both drinking a beer or chatting about something when I'd come home. He'd share with us what he planned on making for dinner or ask about a recipe or ingredients. He was always conscious about getting back at home in time for Carol to arrive. He was definitely a people person. He loved to chit-chat. Brian loved sports, so Don would engage him in what he knew best, Ohio State trivia. We'd love to tease him about his great view and how, since we had the same house, we would just trade one day. He'd introduce us to his friends and let them know that it was our intentions to move in, but then he added, not anytime soon. He'd giggle about it afterwards and smile. Anytime he was thinking about making a change, or upgrading something in the house, he would joke about getting our opinion, because it was gonna be our house one day. Well, that was until they decided to remodel their master bathroom. I didn't think it was a good idea to have a no shower door. He tried to convince me that it was indeed the best plan, and by the way, he was doing it anyways. Our daughter Samantha arrived in 2005, and Dawn took to her like no other. The bond was instant, and something in him changed. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it was there. His friends would later tell us that they noticed it too. His role in our life dramatically changed because of Samantha. From neighbors to friends to so much more. Dawn and Carol were at every major event, her baptism, birthdays, her first communion, and as she got older, the backyard photo shoots went to playing in the pool and watching the sunsets. We'd bring homemade goodies over or invite them over to our house to share in homemade peach cobbler. He always said, "This is delicious. Can I have some more?" And then he would smile. We'd watch their house when they'd go out of town and feed the fish. Our friendship just deepened. We were invited to their gatherings, whether it was here for a holiday gathering. He loved the choir. He wanted to share what he loved. Or in their backyard for barbecues with their friends and family. We joke about the distance that we'd have to travel to come. We were becoming part of the family. Oh, how he loved to sit in the backyard and have a glass of wine while the sky was changing colors. There was often a knock at our door at dusk. He'd come over when the sky was brilliant. Of course, his view was best, so we'd hurry over so Sam could enjoy it. He'd beam as he'd taken the glory of God's painted brush. As you all know, he was an engineer, the computer guy. But one of the things we will always remember is his dental skills. Oh yes, teeth extraction was his specialty. He knew when they were ready to come out and when they weren't. He knew the exact angle and pressure to apply with the flicking action of his finger. Sam could count on him when she was uncomfortable, and more importantly, she trusted him. "Mom, let's see what Dawn thinks," she'd say. And when it would come out, she'd give him a big hug and he would smile. The last 6 years were difficult for everyone. The loss of connection and recognition was unspeakable at times. He was who we went to, and now he was lost. The spark was gone. There was no giggle. There was no smile. But as a mentor that he had become, he continued to teach us. We learned about patience, and more importantly, about compassion. We learned how to talk differently and not to joke. Even toward the end, we knew he knew us. We were familiar. How blessed we were to have him across the street for all those years, almost 2 decades. He will forever hold a special place in our hearts. His spirit of kindness will be remembered, and we will relish in the memories that we made of the time that we spent together on Tupelo. There isn't a day that goes by that we don't miss him. But to know that he's no longer suffering is healing. We're so grateful that God placed him in our life. It's definitely affirmation of the scripture, love thy neighbor, because we really loved him.